Zeh entchos masach the Kohen in Rishon in the Zechar Ali in the Rosh Hashanah. Zeh is going to Rosh Hashanah Yom Bria Adam. That's Aleph Tishrei, which is the Yom Bria Adam. The Yom Zeh, them Zagen Chazal, that's in the Nusach Tefillah, that this day is a Tchilas Kol Masach. We don't only say, there is a Pirush that Rebbe brings over the Torah, that Masach is going on the person Dafke. Tchilas Masach means Masach is going on the Adam, so that's a Pirush. We heard the Rebbe teaches like other places in Chassidus, that Zayim, which is Rosh Hashanah, even though it's the day that Adam Rishon was created, still we call it the day of the beginning of Kol Masach. Yeah, so that's a pshat, that Masach is going on Bria Adam. But here the Rebbe is saying that Tchilas Kol Masach. Then the Shal Afal Pi, that the world is created b'chafei be'elul, Nivra Elam. Mikol Mikeim, Eni Nikr B'Shem Tchilas Masach. What's the pashut pshat? Because le'nishlam b'vei kavanas abriya. Ad li'yev av l'mayis abriyah, she'yem brei Adam Rishon. The pashut is the kavanah. She'oz nishlam kavanas kol abriya. The pashut advarim is that you say the Rebbe doesn't mean over here it's major b'yurim chassidus. The pashas advarim that the ultimate purpose why the world is created is for the sake of the person. So if a person, if someone makes a machine or someone's making something and the purpose why you're making the whole thing is for a certain goal. So Kol Zman that goal is not there, so it's as if the machine didn't start yet. Technically, someone's building a table. And you made a few beam, the amudim at the bottom, you still didn't put the board, which is the main function of the table. So of course, once the board is ready, you're going to call it that now is the beginning of the table, even though you already had the amudim there before. But the amudim is not, that's only a preparation, that's only the hachana. What you want is the table for the sake of what the table is for the board on top. Without having the board on top, you don't have the mitzvahs of the table. So Al-Derech said, even though there was already Shemayim Ba'aretz, Tzemeach and Doimim, before Yom Shishel Ma'aseh Bereshit, before Yom Bria Adam, but it's not considered that the world began yet, because the matara for everything is that there should be a person. Pashas Advar. So the Mitzvah Sabriya started on the day that Adam Rishon was created. That's the I think that's the way the Marsha explains the Gemara there. This Zayim Tchilas Masach. She'az Nishlam Kavanas Kol Abriya. That's when the entire purpose of why the entire world was created was Nishlam B'Yem Bria Adam. L'chein Yem Zeh Dafke U'Tchilas Kol Masach. Even though the Poyel Mamash was already animals there before, but the animals that's not the world didn't begin yet with the fact that you have animals. That's only a preparation for the sake of a person there. Because the person is not there, so the main function of everything didn't start yet. It's all one unit, the world, and the purpose of this world is for the sake of the person. So because the person wasn't there, it's not aschali yet of masa. So this is the pashut pshat. Here the Rebbe brings the way the Friedrich Rebbe asks the kasha of how do you call Yom Bria Adam Tchilas Kol Masach? There's the way the Friedrich Rebbe asks the kasha in Hemshech Tishrei Tavshin Dalet. And the Fizeh, the beer that the Rebbe brought before, is not a beer mastic. Doesn't the the beer that we have told now is you're right that the Shemayim Ba'aretz existed before, but it's not. You're missing the main function of what this universe is. And when the main function is there, that's when you could call that the story began. That's the pashut pshat. Then bring there behini bezesh shana tchilas masach yidu ma shamakshe chadmu behemshach shana tavshin dalet. So the Friedrich Rebbe is Meir Chol Arichis that the musik of Seder, how much the meaning of Seder of Kedima V'Icher is negeya in different dargas. He goes through the whole Nefesh Adam where it's that the lower the dargas are, the more it's negeya the musik of Seder. So just say for example one point that he says Mashal Seichel Umidis. So Seichel is also negeya the musik of Seder. If a person doesn't have a clarity of what's the hakdama to the Indian and what's the maskana of the Indian. Everything is mixed up by him, so he's not going to have a correct understanding of the Indian. If you don't know what's the Yisaid and what's the Tetzah, what's the Cheshbon and what results of the Cheshbon, you have things in the Mavul, the Ka'if, and not Mesuder, so you don't have a Richter Kefashtan in the Indian. But he says, Afal B'Kein, even if a person doesn't have a Seder in the Dvar Muskal, the Etzem Indian of Seichel to be Mischaken, to have Cherifus, to have a Sharfus Svar, even if it's not a correct Svar. But the idea of having a sharva svar you could have, even if you don't have the seder noch in the if someone, let's say, doesn't know the seder of a certain sugya, let's say, the background of it, he could still be mechadish a svara and a certain sharfkeit. He could say something sharp. You could use the keiches haseichel, even though it's not snishkin emes svara. Even someone which uses cherifus and a svara which is not emes, the poil is cherifus sichlis over there. The poil is he's using his mind and he's using out tchunis of seichel. Mash'ekin in lower dargas, he says there that if it's not Mesuder and if it's not clear the secret, where the things are holding, the whole inyan doesn't exist. Figure brings a common dogma that the lower the darkest are, the more negay the inyan of Seder. What's negay is, we'll see what's negay here. So the figure brings like this. Hari b'chol inyanim tzarich li Seder. B'frat inyan abriya. So the figure is Meirich that Lamashal will speak about Seder Shalshals. So you have certain things that the inyan is emes misadatzme. The inyan is the inyan amiti. So there, the musik of Seder, of Kedima ve'Ichur is not so important, let's say. But you have the Mashal Seder Shalshals, so the whole Metzias of Elam is Mokem Izman, which Mokem Izman means Kedima ve'Ichur, it's a mugbaltika world, and everything only has its space in the Mokem Seder Shalshals, which is Mechayev its Metzias. Let's say a Svara. So Svara is only true within Elam HaSeichel. Within the world of Midas, let's say, or within a higher world, the whole idea of a Svara doesn't exist yet. So in a Davar Mugbal, the Metzias of the existence of every Metzias is based on the Gedarim, which is Mechayev this Metzias. So the Metzias of Elam Haza, only after there's the Misgeres of the Geder of Makim Gashmi, or the Geder of Zman of Makim Gashmi, only then there's an Isinas Magam for the Metzias. The more higher you go, and the more the Metzias are not so much Tali and Akbala, so there's less Negeya, the Musik of Seder. But the more you're speaking about Dargas which are Mukbal and Zman and Makim, so the whole Hatzdaka for Metzias is that within this framework, this Metzias has an Isinas Magam. So we're speaking about Negeya Telam Hazal, the fact that the person was created less is not just that technically we created him less. It's because the Metzias Adam only has it in Asmakim after there's already Shemayim Ba'aretz. And after there's already Tzemech and Chai, only then there's an Asmakim for a person to exist. Before the Shemayim, the person is a Metzias Gashmis, let's say. That's Yedei Einer versteht. Before you have a Shemayim Ba'aretz, can sich nicht even a Metzias of a person. So the fact we're dealing with a Metzias which is Mukbal, and what gives space for this being is that within this and this, only after there's Shemayim Ba'aretz, and only after there's Tzmicha, whatever the Gedarim are, only then is misafshed Metzias of a person. Because we're dealing with Davar Mugbal. Davar Mugbal, the holiness in Asmagam for a Metzias only begins where that there's Gedarim which are Mechayim, which gives space for it. The same way you say Davar Gashmi, if there's no space, he can't exist. So Al Derav Zeh, every Metzias Mugbelis only exists within the framework which is Ma'afshed this Metzias. So the fact that the person was created B'yem Hashishi is not just random. He was created because inside the Gedarim of Seder Shashalos, the Metzias of Adam could only exist only after you have the Akdam of Shemayim, Ba'aretz, and Tzemech and Chai. Figures on Mavayr what? He just says, the more they were dealing with Dargas which are Mukbal, the more the inyan of Seder, of Kedima V'Icher is Negeya. So the same way we said in Advar Seichel. You have something you have a Svara which is a Teitzah of a different Svara. So the whole Nesinas Makim, the whole legitimacy of this idea is as a result of another idea. So you can't speak about the Svara which is built on the first Svara without first being marked in the first Svara. And Al Derav Zeh, the more you go in Dargas and Muchas Yeseh, a Metzias Mukbelis and Zman Makim, the fact that the person is created B'yem Hashishi, that means that only that stage of Seder Shashos, that stage of Zman, is misafshed Metzias of a person. Before that stage in time, so there is no space yet, so to speak. The Metzias is not ma'afshed yet, the Metzias of a person. So maybe if you could ask, how could the pasuk say, even if we're going to explain, but it doesn't, Taisha says, this is where the Rebbe is bringing it over here, even if we're going to say that the Shloime was Metzias Adam, that the Shloime was Kavanah Sadriya, the ultimate purpose why they created the world is for the sake of a person, but Ava Bikain, it's not right, it's not correct to use the term Tchila, Ma'amasech on something which is home Metzias is only misafshed after the Akdam of the things before. Even if in a certain degree, the person was created, there is a certain asfal. But since we're dealing with Dvarim Mugbalim, we're dealing with Inyanim of Maaseh, the lowest Inyanim of Seder Shashlos. So the Musik of Seder is an Inyan Ikri. It's not some technically the person was created the sixth day. It's only in that point in time. It's Misafshed the Metzias Adam. So it's not Shaykhas to use the term Tchila on Metzias Adam, even because the Payal he needs to have that Dam of the days before. So how could he call his coming in a beginning when Ba'etzim his home is only Misafshed after the 5 days before? So if Sklat as the way this Shayla regularly asks this is, how could you say Brias Adam is Tchilas Masecha, the person was created last? So the Torah says there's a certain Nekuda where the world begins when the person is created. But here the fact that it's created last is because the Metzias is only Misafshed after the Akdam of the Shisha Yom. So Ebazeh, how could you use the term Tchila, which is the beginning, and we're dealing with Maaseh, which Maaseh there, and we're dealing with the Musik of Maaseh, there the Musik of Seder is Negei, and the person is only at Titzah, only comes Behemsheh after this world before. As the way the figure doesn't bring this this beer before. He just Chatchila, when he's asked this kasha, how do you say Tchilas Masech and Yem Brias Adam, L'chora, the person was created, B'Yem Ashishi, so he's made a whole arichas there when you get to say the K'dim B'Yichur. But the Rebbe is taking it that this shaila is, mitzad this shaila, so the beer that we gave earlier is not a beer master.
What's the Davish Dafka and myself and Ruchnis is
because if the Indian, if you're dealing with the person the way he is mitzad the Mechusa Adam, let's say, the Adam not the way he is a chelik of a biological being, Medaber, and Seder Shlasha, dealing with the Mechusa of an Adam. So the Mechusa of an Adam is an Indian even without having Shemayim Baritz. That's an Indian of Adam, let's say. The Mechusa of Adam, not the Adam as a Metzias Gashmis, as one of the four sigma of them Tzemei Chaim Medaber. As an Indian of a Mechusa of Seichel, let's say. Mitzad the Indian, so that's Shaykh the whole message of Seder is not again. I think it was married. The more you're going to higher daggers, it's more to negate the Mechusa Indian. There, it's not to negate the message of Seder. Adam is an Indian, Sameach is an Indian, but when we're dealing with mice, and mice is the way the Indian play themselves out in Elam Hazeh and Agashim Tigavel. There, the fact that the human being was created after Dim Sameachai, because that's in his Mitzias, is Misafshe. Let's say that's not the beer the figure brings it, but let's say the person is the highest category. First, you have to have the lowest, the most basic being is Daimon, then Sameach, and only after that you can build and go on to Medaber. So you can't use the term Tchila when you're dealing with Maisa on something which is home is only misafshe after something else. That's correct. That's the chul of the kavana here. But hine bezesh yishon etchilas masech yidua ma shemakshach hakmu chadmol be'emshach yishon etavshin dal. So the figure says that bechol hinyanim tzarich liyaseder befrat b'inyan abriya. So mele verta shayla ve'eich emrim agim vav the ma'aseh bereishis shu seif abriya shu etchilas masech. Hagam ch'nesh mevargeven. That the ultimate kavanah is for the sake of the person. The fiber to some group of kol masech. So Mashmos says that according to the beer and Tafshin David, medav zagen at zweiter beer. It's not enough when we're dealing with Maisa. It's not enough to say beer and that the person is the ultimate goal. You have to say that he's the beginning within the sequence of Maisa. And Maisa is that he's he initiates everything. He doesn't initiate. His Metzias only comes after the Metzias and Shekadmu given this in his mouth. That's the that's the pshat. So that's the Rebbe as our word. Klol sabir bezehu. The mikol sabir is the klol is in kol ha'ishtashlu so mitzad rotzim l'mucha. Masha all the berseni is barach ha'noem. The Rebbe is not only dealing with his havas ha'elam, but the kol seder ha'ishtashlu is in the ve'em mitzad rotzim that all the berseni is barach ha'noem. And b'chinas ha'mlucha k'mei shehi barazim ha'noem lech eni inin ha'mlucha k'mei shehi al nevra mifradim ki im b'chinas ha'mlucha k'mei shehi b'terem kol yitzrim nivra. B'chinas reimes v'snasas atzmi. And as the Rebbe brings us in Tanya. That the Siba, why the whole world is created is because all the Berseni is Baruch HaNa'em. But Al Rebbe brings it in Tanya and Sheikh Adamuna takes Andish with the Rebbe Zakta. There Al Rebbe is saying that the fact that the world is created as a Metzias of a Dover Zar, as a Yesh, which is not Batal Teluko, it's a Metzias B'fnei Atzmi, which is Zarim B'Rechaikim, is because all the Berseni to be a Melech. And a Melech B'lei Am, you cannot be a Melech if you don't have a Metzias of an Am, which is Zarim B'Rechaikim B'Nefradim B'Melech HaMelech. If someone that relates, that's close to the Melech HaMelech, he relates to the Melech, so then you don't need to have, that's not the Musik of Mlucha. The Musik of Mlucha is that the Am is an independent Metzias, which are Shalei Be'erach to the Melech HaMelech. They don't have a Asag in the Melech HaMelech. And after they became their Bataltim. That's the Midas HaMlucha. There's a certain Midah B'Nefesh Adam, Midas HaMlucha. A person has the ability to lead a Metzias which is different, which is distant from him. Different type of Tchuna. That's the Seder that Al Bonim can resign the Musik from Melech, because Bonim are margish to Metzias. So the Tchunas Hamlucha is that a person has the ability to direct or to lead or to be Meishel on a Metzias which is far from him, which have no regesh of kiruv towards it. That's saying what's the longest of this Midas Hamlucha. But it's a special midah that a person has, Basar Adam, the ability to be Meishel b'shelet and a Metzias which is Shalei be'erech the Melech. So that's the Alter Rebbe's beer. If this house would have been, if Shloime said Midas HaMlocha, if for the sake of the Eibusher bringing, expressing, let's say, is Midas HaChesed, so we wouldn't need to have an Eilam which is Zardim U'Rechaikim V'Nefradim Midas HaMelech. You could have a world that Chatchilis, you're able to be margish in the world that its whole purpose is to express the Eibusher's Chesed. For that, for the Nukud of expressing the Eibusher's Midas, you don't need to have a world that's Zar V'Rechaikim Midas HaMelech. That wouldn't have expressed the fact that the Eibusher is a Melech. He has the Tchuna, so to speak, of being Melech, being Meishel, of being the Balabas over a Metzias which is distant from him. That's a special tchuna that a Melech has, to be able to be Melech, Meishel B'Shelet, on a Metzias Shirachaykim Imenu. in order to bring out that tchon in the Lakus, the Eibisher is a melech, hat man gedacht, Vashafen HaYesh. Das sagt Alter Rebbe in time. So the Ratzon an Emlich is a beer, wise in this Haugevar Welt, which is Zar, which is a Yesh, and which is far and distant from the Eibisher. Here the Rebbe brings the zweite Zach. Here the Rebbe is dealing with the Darga, the Oliver Tzenius, this clause in Kolei Shtashlos. The fact that there's the whole Metzias of Seder Shtashlos, the whole Indian of Tzir, of Akbala, the fact that there's the whole Indian of Seder Shtashlos, that's Nevem, it's at the Ratzon of Ano Emlich. So the Rebbe is dealing with Ano Emlich the way it is in Atzmos Ein Sof. In the Lakus, the Lakus is higher than Seder Shtashlos. What is the reason why there's the whole Metzias, the whole system of Seder Shtashlos? The reason why there's the whole Seder Shtashlos is because Oliver Tzeni is Baruch and the Lakus, the Eibisher is beyond Seder Shtashlos. The Eibisher is Ein Seif, higher than Tzir. Vir Oliver Tzeni is Baruch Hanayim. So Manet Anam there's sort Melucha. There is Melucha, Malchus, there's Eshes Firis in Atzilus. It's Chod, the Eibisher is the Eres is Melubish and Chachme and Bina and Das, and then Aderech Yiseb Negeta person there's Kerech Sagluim, there's Chachme, Bina, Das, and then there's the middle of Melucha. The tchuna of being able to be meshul on someone else. That's Malchus, the way it is in Sfiras and Malchus, one of a Sfira Protas and Atzilus. And that's what Alter Rebbe speaks about, that the reason why the world is a Sabbath, Metzias Yesh, was in order to express the Midas HaMalchus, in Amul. The reason for the entire Musig of Seder Shalshal, so the whole Inin of Tzir, is because all of it is Baruch of the Ein Sof, which is beyond Seder Shalshal, is Ana Emler. So Retzach Nish Melucha as a Sfira Protas and Atzilus. We're dealing with why there was why wasn't Nischav the whole Musig of Elam Atzilus? Why Bechlal the whole Seder Shalshal was Nischavish? That's because Oliver Tzeni is Baruch of the Ein Sof Ana Emler. So what's for the Emlich Hashakis and Ein Sof? Not Malchus as a Sfira Protas, the Tchuna of being Meshul on someone else. That's Malchus already the way it's a Tzir Protas Sfira Malchus. Though that when Oliver Tzeni is Baruch of the Ein Sof and not Emlich that the Ein should be Nizgal in the Malchus of Ein Sof. What's for the Malchus of Ran Ein Sof? Not Malchus the way we know the Gabi Nevroim, the power to lead someone else. That type of Tchuna. That's what Rebbe brings in. So Pchinas Hamlucha K'meishi Baros and Ano Emlich is not in an Amlucha K'meishi here on the Nevroim Nefrod. Not that Musig of Melucha, the way Malchus is a Sfira Protas and Atzilus, where there the gather of Melucha is that is able to be Misnase, is able to lead, to have an effect on the Nevroim Nefrod. That's one, the Nishning of them that's done in this, what the Rebbe is explaining here, the Musig of Ano Emlich. So that is the in Malchus, which is also Mushish in the high Darga Malchus, but that's not, what the Rebbe is saying there is Malchus, the way there's a Sfira Protas and Atzilus. And the Musig of Malchus, the way it's in Sfira is Atzilus, the Midas Hamlucha is the Kayach of being Meishel, the Shaylet, and Nivra Nifrad. That even though the Nivra is detached of you, still you have the Tchuna of leading it. Of, I don't know, controlling is not the right word, but to be, how do you say, I don't know, how do you say, so Herschen, how do you say Herschen in, there's not controlling. Herschen is to say someone that's nichna to someone else, not because the Elyon is controlling the Tachtin, because the Tachtin realizes that he's margish. A melech is that there's someone that's a hierarchy. That's not what I'm saying, not the musik of controlling. That there's achna to someone which is beyond, which is higher than him, which is movable. And that's a special kayach, the kayach of melucha, that even though someone is the nivra, zar v'nifra, the am is shalei be'erach to the melech, still their market is this nasus, and they're machniya themselves still. That's the musik of malchus, the way it is in Esses Filis, that's it. That's after Rosh and Anna Emlech, the way it is in Ein Sof. So Dort is an Anderini. What's the Anna Emlech of Ein Sof? That's Pchinas Hamlucha Kameishi B'terem Kol Yitzur Nivra. It didn't Malchus the way it is, nothing to do with Nivra. Pchinas Reim must be Snasus Atzvus. There is this Snasus that an Am which is Zar is Margish his Hecherkeit. That's one type of Snasus. And that type of Snasus is a certain type in that Snasus. The Am is Margish that this person is beyond them, is higher than them, elevated of them, and therefore they have this ratzin to be machniya themselves there. Even the snasus al-am of Malchus is not a regular snasus. The whole musik of Malchus is, you say that if we're dealing with a case where the am is makir, let's say, they're margish the milas hamelech. They grasp his milah. And they made it the machniya themselves then. You say it's a chacham katan, l'umas a chacham gadol. So the chacham katan understands the milas hasag of the chacham gadol, and therefore he's mevatel himself then. That's not Malchus. Then the reason why the tachton is batel is the tachton is not a zar v'nifra. He's margish the milas elyon. If the reason why the tachton is batel is because he's be'erech to be margish the milas elyon, then the reason why he's batel is not because the elyon is a balabas, not because the elyon is meishel. Not to do with the alien's memshala. It's because the Tachtin came to the recognition that it's only right for him to be bottled to the alien. Malchus says that the Am is a davar zar v'nifrat. They're on a total different caliber from the Melech. The Melech is Meshich v'mayli gaveh mikolam, and the Am has no asag and malas Melech. And Afal became they sense his highness.
Makif, you don't get it.
The word is not. The word is that the Melech's his nasis is Meir. Even it's mitzad the fact that it's a tchuna of the Melech that even if an Am which is far from him, still he's able to be Meishal. That verstehen what midas Malchus. It's a special midah. If the word is that the Tachtin from his point of view is margish the Melech, is margish malas Melech, so that's not the midas Amluch. Midas Amluch is a tchuna that a Melech has that even an Am which is far, his inyan is nirgash. His isnasis is nirgash. Not because they have a asag in him. It's a certain tchuna that the Melech has that his inyan has an imprint on someone else, has an imprint on an Am. There's no beer why the Am is margish and malas Melech. If there's a beer, then it's not malchus. The word is that's a tchuna. Datka Melech has this tchuna that his avdala is meir, and the Am become aware of it, even though mitzad their point of view, they shouldn't have been margish and malas Melech. So the musik of malchus. That's the musik of malchus b'chlal. Versteh the meaning? I'm just being much for one nekuda that you say that malchus is dibur. Why is malchus dibur? So the filigar is the musik of dibur is if someone that has the mile of dibur, the mile of speaking, is not. There's one if in a person which he has a yuchelis to have a ashpa on a crowd, let's say, on a mekabel, because he knows that they explain the Indian in a way that the mekabel should be margish the Indian. That's not the kayach hadibur. Kayach hadibur is that someone has a kayach to affect the zulas. Not. It's a kayach that an alien has that he has an ability to make an effect on the zulas. So if the fact that the zulas is being affected is the mashal Rav Talmud. The fact that Talmud understands is not because the Rav has a kayach to affect someone else. There's no kayach to affect the Talmud. The Talmud is a kedi to understand the Rav. So when the Rav explains it, it's not an alien affecting the Talmud. So mainly the Talmud grasps the Indian. Malchus says that the Am is zar v'nifra. They're distant from the Melech. And out of the beginning, it's a tchuna that the Melech has that his isnasus, his hechakait, is nirgash and meir, even in a place where mitzad the nature of the place, and mitzad their kalim, they shouldn't have been margish. That's the tchuna that the Melech has. That his nasus is nirgish and azulas. It's not the get the technology. Just that's the flaw.
There's an inner relation between the chacham katan and the chacham gadol. Still can't be.
Then he won't be margish him at all. And if the chacham katan is yam margish that flaw, so he's epis vasashaychus to the chacham gadol. If you have someone which has no chush and seichel at all, and the chacham gadol is he won't be in his battle part of the chacham gadol because he has b'chlam no hergish.
How does the Am ever have a
That's a special tchuna. That's the Melech has a tchuna to affect the zulas.
But that's only after the Am.
The pnimi is the fact that they want to be mekabel panav is mitzad the fact that he has midas amluch. That's mission again. I'm just saying so his nasas always is not a davar mukder meaning. What the Am is margish, what's made by the Am by his nasas al Am is not something that you could pinpoint exactly what they sense from the malas amel. But since lepayel mamish they're being margish some reimemus, so you could touch up that reimemus. That's a snasas salam. Even a snasas salam is not a regular fisa that the Am is margish. They could define what the margish of the melech. So there's no exactly how but I'm saying is even a snasas salam is not a davar mukder so much. But saf kol saf the Am is margish that this person is beyond them, and b'meila they have a rotzen to be machniya themselves in. So that hasnasos is a hasnasos which is having ashpa on the Am. That's already not the reimus ha'etzmik meishu b'atz musim. That's not the melech's reimus the way it is in himself. The way the melech's reimus the way it is in himself. That's not nirgash in the Am. That's his own personal reimus. The reimus that they're margish, the hasnasos that they feel which causes them a rotzen to be machniya themselves in. That's only a chitzeni's the gedarg of his nasas, which is his highness the way it's nirgash to be payel a bittul on the Am. So I'll tell you in the Nimshal. So you have the same thing. You have the Malchus is this Nasas Aram, that it's Nirgash der Eibish's Reimemus in Eilemis and Ibrahim. And the Mela, the Tpel and the Ratzin in Ibrahim to be bottled in. And then there is the Reimus Etzem. That the Havdalah, that the way the Eibish's Etzem is movable from Eilemis. The way it's Merum about Musim. And that's Shalei Be'erech from being able to be Meir Avod, that's this Nasas Atzmus. And the Rebbe is saying here that the Kavana Sabriya was, Oliver saying that this is Nasas. The Reimus Etzem does all Meir's. That's it. And the Fari Gevarn say the Rishashos. All the birds saying is Baruch of the Ein Sof, that the Reim was Ein Sof, the Avdallah Sa'etzem does all Meir's. And for that sake, Gevarn the Gan say the Rishashos.
Every time there's a melech and an am, that is make the etzem of when the am is makabel
it's melech v'am that we don't know b'chal musig melech. The am is talking about a melech Yisrael or a true melech, and it was mistam also goyim which had tchunas of melech.
Once the melech is makabel, then the snasus atzmus is nizgal.
Exactly how it works. That's already the snasus atzmus is never nizgal because the muhus hamelech is shalei be'erev to them. They for but the pile it's nirgash his royalty.
That's lower level.
It's never nirgash the remus etzemash in the mashal. The royalty, how much they're able to be masik is nirgash, which is chitzenius legami. And Chassidus says the fact that his royalty is able to be felt, even to a tachtin, which is not a keli for him, the shadish is because he's a manus of etz. That's the shadish. That's not what's Meir. What the am's margish is a certain highness that they're able to, that they're margish. That's in the mitzvahs. And this pratim, we're not learning about the targets. I just want to touch up the words over here of the. There's a snasus al nevreim and there's remus v'snasus al snasus atzmus. Wer versteht, ja? Da Frieden per Melech, ja? Frieden bis London, okay. Beginnes am Luche Kameshi baratz in der Emlich, ein in am Luche Kameshi al nevreim nefrad. Ki im beginnes am Luche Kameshi betelem kol yitzur nivre beginnes remus v'snasus atzmus. What's negel in Enenu is that the kavan, the ratz navana emlich, the way it is in Ein Sof, is what's the musig of melech there? The remus v'snasus ha'etzem. That the etzem of Elokus is a menusa and not a snasus that you could not agdore the snasus. It's snasus atzmus. I mean that it's a whole different. He's a menusa be'etzem. And then später reisi that the Rebbe teaches here, but not a snasus that you could kaviyochel be magded this snasus. You could say a mashal chacham kadlu as a chacham gadol. So you could describe the havdalah and the snasus of the chacham gadol. Al derez when you get to melech halam, so you have the am, and then you have the melech, and you somehow the am senses somehow this greatness of this king, or the havdalah of this king. So you could have this nasus has some type of a touch. The am is not margish, you know, pshitas mamish. Mashinga this nasus etzem, the fact that the etzem is moved, that's a snasus which is beyond any distinct form. We're talking about this nasus etzem mamish. Be more aces weiter. And the purpose of the whole bria is that this reimus, this nasus etzem, the fact that the etzem's havdalah, the etzem's reimus does on his galava. For that sake, there was this whole. The whole is called Seish Tashis. B'chinas reimus zu nimshcha b'gilei al the Adam Rishon she'omer Avayim Malach Geis Lavish. The reimus ha'etzem, that's what the Rebbe is saying here. The reimus ha'etzem, thus is nimshach geworden through Adam Rishon. The reimus ha'etzem, not just the Snasus Salam, not just this Pashtem Musig of Malchus. That's ungehert Welt, the Hebesh is the Snasus, that though he created the world and he's higher than all the limitations of the world. A Snasus, which the world is, which some tfisa of greatness, that the world is able to be margish, but through Adam Rishon is nisgali geworden, the snasus ha'etzem, remus ha'atzmus. By him saying, Avayim Malach Geis Lavish, Shaydei Zeh Himshach Ines remus ha'atzmus begili. Man versteht nicht, wie sei, the Rebbe hat gesagt, Avayim Malach Geis Lavish, what does it mean exactly, the Adam Rishon, but that's what the Rebbe says here. We'll see in the end of the Maamarim. The Adam Rishon was poiled, there should be this remus ha'etzem on this galva. Prati Yisyeser, yeah, the Chorah, the Kaplan here is, and not only Adam Rishon was piled the union of the Remus Etzem, Legabe, that by Adam Rishon Gufa was Meir the Remus Etzem, but he was piled this Gilui, the Kolin of Ram Shavayla. In every niver, in the entire world. That's the Chorah, the Kaplan here. We'll just skip a line for a minute, just so you should see the. But Prati Yisyeser, so that means you do a chilik Meluchim and Mishallah. This is the next line. But Adam Rishon Himshach Ven Samlucha Beratzim Achalan Ebrahim. So the main nature over here is, the Adam Rishon was piled in of Melucha, in of Reim was by all Nivraim. Not only when Geila Atzmei, that he had, that by Emet Merik when the Reim was and he was piled, this is part of a Chol Eilam. That's the L'chorah the Beprati says. But the Rebbe brings in Yidu, I have been Melucha Lemshallah. The Melucha he Beratzim, K'meish Emer Malchutzi Beratzim Kiblu Aleim, but Adam Rishon Himshach in a Samlucha Beratzim Chol Nivraim. Chadisa Bezayash, Adam Rishon Omar, opposes Chol Nivraim, Bayu Nishtach Ben Nechrad, Nivra Chol Fnei Hashem Yisei. One of the Chilukim between Melucha, we have to see how this is going to relate to the Snasas Atzmas. But Shlosh Tevin Chassid is that one of the differences between a Melech, there's a special tchuna that someone has that even though, like I said before, even though he's Be'en Arech, and the Tzad, let's say the Gdorim, the Kalim of the Mekabel, they have no Kalim to be Margish his Ma'ila, still, the Melech's Havdalah is Nirgish. That Indian you only have by Melucha, which is Baratz. Memshala is a different story. Memshala, if you go reading the Maamarim, then Memshala, there's Melucha Memshala. Memshala is L'mashal Eimas Hagavaya Ala Nomach. So that's Mimshal. That's not that they recognize his highness, his royalty, and therefore they want to say be mashabed themselves to him. Mimshal is he's stronger than me, and therefore I'm afraid of him, or he controls me. The musik of controlling is that since the alien is stronger than the makabel, so the makabel is tougher, is bottled to the alien. That's nothing to do. That's not a tchuna of the alien. If in Tzias you have Shimon is stronger than Reuven, so Reuven is not afraid of Shimon because Shimon has a tchuna that he makes an imprint on the zulas. It's not him making an imprint. If he's stronger, so automatically the teva advarim is that the tachtin is going to be afraid, or he's going to be shuffled like Abed Elyon. That's not mitzvah the alien's hashpah. It's not the alien's esnas. It's not the alien's inyan that he's payal and azulas. Mulucha is that not that the am feels that the melech is threatening them. He's stronger than them, and therefore apiteva they have to give themselves their bottle to him. The beratza they're machnei themselves since they realize his hafla, his reimamus, his greatness. So mitzad bertzainam they want to dedicate themselves fully to him. How do they inherit his greatness? Which that's me'er but the maratzin to give themselves over to him. That's lochore if they're be'erech to be margish his ma'ila, so it's not totally their ratzin. Then if he's greater, say a chacham katan, which is margish the ma'ila of a chacham gadol, it doesn't have to want to be mishabed himself. If it's like a herike mensch, apiteva advarim, if the chacham katan is margish the ma'ila of the chacham gadol, the ma'ila will be bottled. It doesn't have to want. It's not a decision. He has to decide to give himself over. The yener is aggressive for them, but the ma'ila is ein bottled. Malchus is the alien. It's mitzad the gdorim of the mitzias. This alien is totally detached from the tachtin. And the tachtin be'etzem has no asag in the manas. And Afal became, even though the Metzias Ha'am is Zar v'nifra, still his highness is nirgash in a way that they have a rutz and they want to dedicate themselves to him. That's the musik of Malchus. The Rebbe wants to bring out here that Adam Rishon Peil and the Reim was the etzem shemim shall begin. The Peil, and not only when he get to Adam Rishon himself, also when he get to Alnivren. But where the Rebbe brings that is from, we see that he was Peil the musik of Malchus by Alnivren. Have to see how that relates to Reim Etzem. But the Rebbe is just bringing here that he wasn't only Peil Malchus the Gabi himself, he was Peil Malchus the Gabi Nevraim. What we find is Peil Malchus the Gabi Nevraim is the Gabi Poshta Musik of Malchus, that he was Peil by the Maratzin for Bittul. We'll have to see how that relates to the Reim Etzem. So, Wu Zet and other missions get Peil Malchus by Al Nevraim, because Malchus, one of the Gdarim of Malchus is that it's Beratzin Kiblali. But Adam Rishon Himshach Pun Samlucha Beratzin Chol Nevraim. We state in Zayar that Adam Rishon Omar opposes Chol Nevraim. So he was telling them that they themselves, they should want to be machniya themselves, to be mishav themselves. Not that he revealed that be'etzem their bottle. He was me'er by them a rotzen v'tshuka to be bottle to the Yisrael. That's mitzad the izgalus of midas amlucha. So the Parshat Dvarim is only mechriya that the stamasi the midas amlucha was izgalus. We hear the Rebbe saying, you see that he was pel mulucha by Nevraim. So punkt azevi chassidus is mavayar legabi the own legabi Adam Rishon's kabbalah samlucha. That it's Rei Musa Etzem, so there we were spelled in all the Vrayim, is also Rei Musa Etzem. Let's get Minzem. So in the Fizeh, we understand why we could call Yem Brias Adam Tchilas Masach, a whole different type. Why? Because it's the emes Tchilah. What's the Tchsiba for the whole Seder Shalashas? What's the Tchilah of the whole Seder Shalashas? Is on Zgalef and the Rei Musa Etzem. And the Reim Ha'etzem boli de gilui in the bria be involved in isolations. So the emes tchila veld is the etzem. That's the tchila. What initiated the whole Metzias Elul? Vanti gevarna Shemayim Ba'aretz, and not only Shemayim Ba'aretz, literally the whole Seder Shalshos. The tchila sakel is the etzem, and the etzem was ersh nisgala, was ersh nimshach in veld be involved in isolations. So this day is the true beginning of isolations. Not because the Adam was created that day, but through the Adam, the Rei Musa Etzem was Nimshach Begilui. And this Rei Musa Etzem, that's the Tchila, the Siva Sakel for the whole Seder Shalshos. So the true Torah of Tchila, even in respect to Maisa, is Shaykh when I get to Yem Brias Adam. That's touch the Rebbe.
Why is it also Shaykh on Maisa?
Let me send V'lechein Yem Adam, Brea Adam Daf. Tchilas Kol Masech, Av Shebechofi Be'elon Nivreil. Why? Because Oz Daf Ke Nimshach Begilui B'chinas Rei Musa Atzmis, which that's the Rotzen Dan No Emlich, Shehi Sibas Kol HaBriya. What's the sibah behind everything? The sibah behind everything is the tchilas kol masach. So when we say what's the beginning of masach, the beginning of masach Shemayim. That's not the true beginning. The true beginning is the Rei Musa Etzem. That's the true beginning. Kol's man, other missions didn't come, so the Rei Musa Etzem wasn't nirgash involved. So the true tchila of what the world is wasn't nirgash in illness. So it was a world without a beginning, so to speak. The sibas kol abriya wasn't nirgash involved. So it was the basis of what the world is wasn't here.
So the old answer was that was the tachlis of all.
Yes, all answer the first answer. First answer is that without the person being there, so what's the whole purpose of having a world with a few behemoths? The whole purpose is a person. So Hatzishkin Mensch, so then what exactly began? The whole purpose is to have a person there. Like I was saying before, when you say, when did it be? You say now the car. Now you have the car. When they have the engine there, if you have you just started putting a few pieces of metal. Nothing started yet. That was only a preparation. Here the Rebbe is saying, even though the Adam came last, but through the Adam the Reimus Ha'etzem was God, and the Reimus Ha'etzem is the true beginning of everything. Literally the beginning. Tchilas HaKel. Sibes Kalabriya. So das steht, the Rebbe Mevayer when they get to Tchilas Masech, or when they get to when they get Adam Rishon. And we say now every year Shoshana Zok Mazayim Tchilas Masech. Jeder Jahr sagt man Zayim Tchilas Masech. Kamekene b'chol Shana b'Shana. B'chol Shana, wie kann man sagen jeder Jahr Zayim Tchilas Masech? The world has already exists for the last couple of 1,000 years. So them sagt because every single year b'chol Shana Chayzim at Varam Lekat Musa. But tzarech lahamshich zabriya michodesh. So Zevot gewend the Shail. So usually the beer in the Posh the beer that steht in Chassidus. The Alter brings this in the Siddur. What's the pshat? You have to every single year be ma'ared again Pchinas Hamlucha. So pshat of the Advarim is because Brias Elul is ashpal the Gabi. Creating a world is a yeridah. So here in the Mashal Aderech, you tell a person you should get involved in some type of activity that's below his dignity. Let's say it's a yeridah for him. Because I'm ready to lower myself down temporarily. I'm ready to be mated myself, to degrade himself to do something. But after a Meshach Zman, he's chayshel lekatmus, and he has to reconsider if he should be mashmal himself again. So there I said the whole is ashpal the Gabi Deivish. This ashpal the Eivish Gabi Yochel is only ready to be mitzans to himself only for a year temporarily. After a year, he has to reconsider nachamal whether it's worth it to have this ashpal or not. But that's not the nature. Here the nature is that every single year, not just you have to re-me'er again the rotzen to be me'er mashkel himself to vote. Yet the year that is galefer and tiffer the Reimus Ha'etzem. Chayzim kol advarim lekadmusa. Why is Shoshana called Tchilas Masech? Because b'yem zeh is nimshach the Tchila Amiti, which is the Reimus Ha'etzem. And every year is Tchilas Masech, because every single year that for Nachamol Mamshach Zayin Velt a deeper darga of the Reimus Ha'etzem of the Tchilas Ha'etzem. So every year is a new beginning. Because every year is Nizgala, deeper darga, deeper inyan in the Tchila and the Reimus Ha'etzem. Choshan chesed Torah lekadmus. Tzarech lahamshach zabriya michodesh. This is afa piyah shelachur hamshach yeshanu urak hamshach pratus l'shana zu. It's not a deeper hamshach of the Tchila. Tchila shenim shegavar. We're only what's chadash this year is the highest pratus for this year. For some reason, the highest pratus has to be chadash every single year. So if the whole part you need of Rosh Hashanah is to be mamshach the highest pratus for this specific year, not a deeper hamshach of that, but just to be mechadish the highest pratus of this year. So why is every Rosh Hashanah called Tchilas Masech? Every Rosh Hashanah is a chakal nimshach, another dargan mitzat seder shalshus, another darga pratus which is meirable, not the etzim. So Adam Zok the Rebbe is nicht das. So even though Rosh Hashanah is only hamshach pratus Hashanah zu. Aber bei Emes im Befur begar shekedesh al pasuk eretz hasheina Hashem alikecha v'bris Hashem v'adach Hashem. Politic is up. The Rebbe teaches there. Where's the Alter Rebbe said in the Gersa? The Rebbe says that they say the Eretz Yisrael Darten. So the Eibishter is Eini Hashem Alikecha is focused there from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So Alter Rebbe says only one year from the beginning of the year to the end, and that's it. So Alter Rebbe says there that every year there's this Chachas Achayis. So Alter Rebbe's lashon is Shebechorish Hashanah Nimshach Er Chodesh. So Parshas Er Chodesh is not an Er Chodesh from Atzmos. Er Chodesh is you have to do Shis Alpha Shnei Habam. So each the Eibishter is 6 spheres, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, and each sphere of Chesed Atzilis, when it's a slavish involved, it's 1,000 years in order to durchgain the whole the Tfilas Chesed should be Nizgala and should be say materialized in the Olam Hazeh. So Yemesh Lakadish Baruch Hu Elef Shana. In order for that sphere, Chesed Atzilis, to be in a slavish involved, a Maisa from Tezin Tiyar. So what do we mechadesh every year? Another Hamshach Pratis. Last year, this Pchina was Nizgala and Nimshach involved, and the next year, the next Pchina is Nimshach involved. The Alter Rebbe says Er Chodesh. Er Chodesh doesn't. The Alter Rebbe is not speaking about the Er Chodesh Atzmos. The Alter Rebbe Er Chodesh Achayis Pratis. So Adam Zok the Rebbe does. Since the Alter Rebbe used the lashon Er Chodesh, Hu Asher B'Chodesh Hashanah Hu Chidesh Amiti Ba'atzmi. Chidesh Amiti M'chinas Reimus Atzmos. If it's a Hamshachas Chayis, let's say the way it sounded the Pashtus. that Chesed Atzilus, in order for it to be Nimshach B'Shleimus, needs 1,000 years. So this specific year being Mamshech, another Tesefes Pchina and Sfiras HaChesed. So the Darga which is Nimshach this year has some erech to the Darga of that. Even if it's a Darga of Seder Shalshalos, so all the Dargas have some Hashva Zelazim. It's not Be'en Erech Klal. If it's not Be'en Erech Klal, it's not an Emes HaChidush. Chidush Amiti means that the Indian that's Nimshach this year, there was no Nesinas Magafit. There was nothing Be'erech that was Meir the year before. So that, from them, that the which is Nimshach Rishon is Chodosh. Chodosh means that it's new. That there is a Lashon that Alter is Chodosh. It means that it's Chodosh in the ultimate, most the Shloime is like a type of what Chodosh is. Chodosh means that it's a new Indian which is beyond the whole Gedarim of Seder Shalshas. That's only if you say that every Shana is Nimshach, a deeper Namshach from the B'chin of Reimos HaEtzim. Reimos HaEtzim, you can't say that the Reimos HaEtzim is Shalei Be'erech Klal to the Mitzvahs of Seder Shalshas. So that element, or whatever way you're going to touch it, the Hamshachas HaEtzim that wasn't married yet, the year before, you can't say that the Shtalshas, the way it was the year before, was Be'erech to this Hamshachas Chadash of the Reimos HaEtzim. Shalei Be'erech Klal. Talking about the Etzim which is Mubtal, Be'etzim a whole different target. So for that to be made about, it's a Chiddush Amiti Ba'atzim. That's what it says. Chiddush Amiti M'chnes Reimos HaAtzim Daf. Any inim which is already Shach, which is already outside of the Etzim, which is already Seder Shalshus, there's no Chiddush Amiti. Because it has some erech to the Dargis. So the Meir, Zeo Ma Sheshana Tchilas Masach. Kisha'oz Nimshach M'chnes Reimos HaAtzim. K'meshay Pa'amar Yishayna the Sheshana. Shenimshach M'chnes Reimos HaAtzim V'gila Ad Adam Rishon. So the Nekudah says Barim is, that the Rebbe's Masber here, the Nekudah V'Sheshana is not Azei Fran as Abir Chassidus, that the Shoshana, the focus is to be Mamshech, the Eibusha Shabaratzin, to be Mahavavelt. Should be a Melech, should be Mashkal himself to run the world. In order to get him to, since he's Chezu Kaldoron Lekadmusam, he's Kabiyachal not sure if he's going to continue this Yirida, so we have to be Me'ered him to continue this Yirida. So what are we being Mamshech or being Mamshech? The lower Darga. In order to get him to lower himself down, we have to be Me'ered him a little bit. But not that we're Eisen that the Etzim should be Nimshach, that the Etzim should be Me'ered. The Kodesh Hashanah has been in a Malchus that the Darga of Sfiras HaMalchus will meir. In order to get Sfiras HaMalchus, you have to be meir by the Etzim. Here the Rebbe is saying that the Kodesh Hashanah is Tchilas Masecha is that this is the day that the Etzim is Nimshach Begin. So what's the Avodah Rosh Hashanah? The Etzim zon meir zayin. That the Reimos HaAtzim zon meir zayin. It's not that we want to be Mamshech Melucha. The only way to reach Melucha is by Atzmos, because everything else is established. But the purpose of Rosh Hashanah is, that's Rosh Hashanah, but it's the first Rosh Hashanah. The Nekudah of the Ufta of Adam Rishon was that he was pearl that the Reimos HaEtzim zon meir zayin begin. And al there's every Rosh Hashanah, the Nekudah of Rosh Hashanah is that the Reimos HaAtzmos zon nimshach beren begin in belt. And then Bashid Avidim Rosh Hashanah. Mamshech zayin that it's on the Skalaver and their Etzim of Holocaust, which is the Tchilas HaKav, the Sivas Chalabri. So we have to see what's the Avodah Rosh Hashanah, what's Chodesh Satan with the Musik of Malchus. Let's get it in the Maamarim.
How is it Erev Chodesh? Every single year is the same thing.
It's not the same thing. It's a deep. It's not what's the Pshat Dargis and Etzim, but we're not dealing with. It should be more in a deeper Eifin than the Reimos HaEtzim, in a higher Eifin than the Etzim.
Each level of Etzim is being Erev.
Each level of Etzim is being Erev because if you the was at Meir given the year before, the Gabi you have a deeper akkord in that flow of Etzim, the Reimos HaEtzim. Mitzem di Proto. Mitzem.
It wasn't Chadash every year, wouldn't be Tchilas Masech every year?
No. Why should then? How do you say every year Tchilas Masech?
Because it was part that was stopped, so it went away.
Well, what went away? The Etzim didn't go away. I'm saying if the only thing what we're renewing every year is a certain Amshacha Pratis. That's the other nation was Pillar Reimos HaEtzim.
Again, Reimos HaAtzmos.
The same thing again.
Yeah, so when...
What do you mean? I don't know. What does it mean the same thing again? He was nostalgic and we bring him back. It's also not a real tchila. The Indian was already here last year. It was already Nimshach in Belt. Where's the chiddush here? The Indian event. The nekuda is that every year is a new beginning. It means the Reimos HaEtzim is Nimshach in a way that it was never made in Belt earlier. I'm not saying the word. I'm saying more the word of the chiddush. I don't mean the word of tchila.
If it wasn't chiddush, it couldn't be tchila?
I say you're saying something else. You're saying inside the word of tchila, you could have even I don't know what it means exactly. The Mamshel Etzim again was nostalgic. I'm not sure what it would mean over there. It was nimshach and then it was nostalgic. It's chvesish point. Lamer Zem at the Rebbe's Nevair. Chvesish exactly the Gdarim. What would it mean this year or that way? The etzem is not a psadargi, say you have it, you don't have it. It's the akara of the etzem, the way it is muvdal b'chlal from itzias. And there's ain't stuff and how much that inyan could be made. I'm not sure if this idea of the same is shaykh over there. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if the same is shaykh. You say someone says a svari. I heard the same svari yesterday. I'm hearing it again. I'm talking about the haflas ha'etzem being meir. I'm not sure what does it mean the same. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the agdara would mean over there. Okay. Lamer zen with the state. Lamer zen. Can you weiter, yeah? Hoven ze bei mikiyes. At the end of the Maamarim, the Rebbe is going to go back to what's the pshat Hashanah is the Aveda of Hamshachas Ha'etzem, and what does it have to do with the Inyan of Malchus Stam? We'll see the prat. This part is basically also again just being marked more than the Kudas Advarim before the Rebbe goes into the prat Abiurim. So David HaMelech Amar B'Shem Kol Yisrael Arimim Cholekay HaMelech. Now, so there's being Mishabeach, the Eibishter is Reimus, Arimimcha. I'm going to say, how do you say it, proclaim the Eibishter is Reimus. Now, Arimimcha, Pchinas Reimus, Atzmis. The Reimus Etzem. Mashalamayla, Be'ein Arech, Pchinas Reimus, Visnasis, Alan Lefrem. Let's say it on the Rebbe Fernando Kleid. Reimus Atzmis, first of all, the Mashalamayla Mishtashalis. Loirak Mesfiras HaMalchus, I mean, but even Kloli, the Mocker, I mean, in different directions. We're speaking about the get to Nevroim, so the Sheirish Shemakar of Nevroim is Firas HaMalchus. They say the Mashal when they get to Nefesh HaAdam. Where does it begin? The Musik of a Makar to Azulas for Nefesh HaAdam in the Kei HaDibur. Kozman before Kei Machshav and Seichel Amidus, that's all the person's own personal mitzias, his own Nefesh. The way he understands, the way he feels. Where does it begin? A Makar already a Tnuah that you're sharing with someone else, that begins in Kei HaDibur. That's already the Ashpa Lachutz. So there's no Lakus. Chabad and Chagas is all the Inyanim, Keichas of the Eibishter, the Inyanim of a Lakus, the way it's Kaviyochel within a Lakus himself. His tzir. It's the Chachma, the Eibishter's Chachma, the Eibishter's Sphiris. That's the way Lakus is beyond being Meir to Nivra, which is a Metzias outside of it. Vu Heit Zachan, a Lakus being Meir to Zulas, that's the Sphiris HaMalchus. Al Derech and the Mashal, where does it begin? The person communicating what's going on by him to Zulas, that begins with Kei HaDibur. Machshava and Seichel Amidus, that's all the person's own personal world. That's the ways beyond being able to be Nirgash Azulas. So B'Pashtus, Hishtashlos begins in Sfiras HaMalchus. So does Zakman that we speak Remus. So there is the Remus Ha'elyin. First darga is the Remus Ha'elyin, the way it's Nirgash Azulas. That's the regular Sfiras HaMalchus. That's the Snasus Alan Vrun. That's the Eibishter's Highness, the way, I don't know which other word to use, but his Snasus, the way it's Nirgash by Nivraim. Vu heit zachan that an Elyon, that Reuven is nirgash by Shimon, that's mitzad, that's only that aspect of Reuven which Zulas is able to feel. That starts by Kei HaDibur. That's the Mokam Achichi Tzeni, where it's already a Mokam for Zulas. There's no Lakus. Sfiras HaMalchus is that Sfira which is Mamshech, that the Inyan of Lakus is able to be Meir by a Nivra. So it's Nasas Atzmis is the Reimus Ha'etzim. So it's not the Reimus the way it's nirgash. The way Lakus is already a Mokam for Zulas. That's not the Reimus Ha'etzim. That's the Inyan of Lakus, the way it has an impact, the way it's felt to another, to Azulas. So Reimus Ha'etzim is Visehecha from the Shalsh. So it's not only higher than Sfiras HaMalchus, it's a marker from the B'rei. That's the statement that the Reimus Ha'etzim is higher than Malchus. But it's higher even than Sfiras HaChacham. She'eresh is Kalei Shalshus. Why? Because Sfiras HaChacham, even though Sfiras HaChacham is the way Lakus is Ba'atzmai, but it's the way Lakus is already a Shaykhas to Azulas also. They say the Mashal when they get the Nefesh Adam also the same thing. Even though Chachma is Shalei, say the Chabad Shebenevish is Shalei Be'erech to the Metzias of Azulas. Only in Dibur, that's where there's the beginning of Ashpa to Azulas. But L'Poyel, what does a person communicate through his Dibur? His Seichel Amidus. Even though the Seichel, the way it is by him, is higher than being able to be Nergash by Azulas, but it's not Shalei Le'erech Klal. Saf Kol Saf, the Seichel, the Chachma, the way it is by him, is a mocker that through Dibur it's going to be Nimshach, Ha'ara of this Chachma to Azulas. So you can't say the Chachma is Mereimam V'nivda Legamri. It's the Remus, is the way the Eibishter is Batzmusa. Because even Chachma, Saf Kol Saf, through this Lapshas and Dibur, this Chachma, this Seichel that he was masterfully able to deliver it to Azulas. So Chachma has, even Chachma, the way it is Ba'atzmai, has some Shaykhs, is already a Makar, not some Shaykhs. It's already a Makar for the Metzias Azulas. So it's not Muvdal Be'er, it's not Manusa Legam. It's not a Snasas Atzis. He has some Shaykhs to the Azulas. That's in Chachma. This is later, which is also a whole different level of Shaykhas to Zulas. Malchus is kipshuti, the beginning of the Shaykhas to Zulas. It's in the Mashal Nefesh Adam. Malchus is Dibur, where the person is already in a state of connection to Zulas. Chachma is now, he's not in a state, he's the way it is in himself. But Sav Kol Sav, once Mitzatzir Chachma, you already have a marker of Ashpah to Zulas. Because through Seder Shalshalas, a ha'ar of this Chachma will be Nimshach to Zulas. That's for this, the male, it's considered a marker. Legam is filis a chachma sheish kol ha'ishtash. So gam lemaylim chnas a chachma shebekesser, because gam chachma shebekesser yibechal ishtar. In other words, once we're using the musig of marker that sav kol sav this inyan through ishtashlos rabbis is going to be nimshach. So however, the chachma shebekesser shalei be'erech the chachma the way it is in filis a chachma. I mean, it's dargis without nishvas achveis what the dargis zayin, but you have the biurim that you have chachma the way it's negesh in a person's mayah. Person is a meshama beguf, and you have his keach hachachma, it's nirgash in his brain, and you have the chachma the way it is in the nefesh. Keach hamas, the way the chachma is nichal within the nefesh itself. That's the dagger shalei be'erech klal. But after it became sav kol sav, the chachma the way it's nimshach in the mayach is ha'ara. It's nimshach through ishtal. It's nimshach from the chachma the way it is in the nefesh. So once we're dealing with the Rab, one thing, then dibur hipzachana shaychas mamash tazuvas. But then you have a mocker to the. You don't have the connection to the zulas, but you have something which is self a market to the zulas. So it's not munus sabetz, it's not moved to legami. There's some shaykhs. Once you're going into that element of a market, that saf goes saf through a shtasus with the inner shachvar and zulas. So you have chachma the way it is in keser. So even chachma the way it is in keser, even though the darga the way this phase that it's in when it's in keser is shalei be'erech the shtasus, but saf goes saf through a shtasus rabbis with the sim shachvar. Yeah, there's different dargas. Lamer Zendel, gam chachma shebekesser b'chal leishtashlus. Kedum shchaz b'ramaz. The chachma stimoi, chitzeni is chachma stimoi. Yitchilas v'reishis leishtashlus. So that's already the inyan chachma the way it is in the highest state. The inyan chachma the way it is in the highest state has the shaykhas leishtashlus. Because chachma is the inyan prati, and through ishtashlus rabbis will be nimshach in a shaykhas to the zulas. Efshel will sagen or how the word. Just the Alter Rebbe says in Tishrei that when we speak about, it's also not, but the Alter Rebbe says there that. When the Torah speaks about on one hand, what do we say in Paschalio? Antu chakim v'lo b'chachma yidli. So the Eibishter's chachma is shalei be'erech to the musik of chachma the way it is by Nevrayim. So the Torah says, why are you calling it chachma? If shalei b'chachma yidli, it's shalei be'erech klal to the musik of chachma the way Nevrayim know. So why are you calling it chachma? So the Torah says, because it's a market of Pchinas chachma. So that means the mashal, you have the mashal chveis the Gemara. It says in Medrash that ein lecha esav lamata she'eli mazel milmayla hamaka be'emer le'gdal. So you have the Asif, the simple piece of grass, and you have the Mazel Ruchni, which that's where the Asif through a Shtalshalus Rabbis gets its Indikas HaChayisra. So Alter Rebbe says Shalei Be'er Klal, the Mazel Ruchni to the grass to the Asif Lamata. How could they compare that means the Dugma, you have Pashat the Mesikas Gashmis, the Mesikas of a fruit dirtin, Chech Echel Yitam, and the Mesikas of a Svar. Shalei Be'er Klal. The mesikas of a svara to push it the physical taste. And someone that has a good taste buds there, then it's not going to make him closer to understanding and to appreciating the mesikas of a svara. No one's going to say, in order for you to appreciate the mesikas of a svara, first you have to appreciate sweet foods. And that's going to be a chanes, and you'll be able to appreciate the mesikas of a svara. So again, it's elements nefradim lagami. But saf kol saf, the mesikas haruchnis is the marker for this mesikas gashmis. Means that the tnu of mesikas you have the way it is in higher elements, and through ishtashlos rabbis, this tnu is misgashim until it materializes itself in a mesikas gashim sabayich gashim. So that's a musik. You have something which it's bein arech to the lower dark, but sav kol sav, this tnu itself, the elyon is an inyan prati, and through ishtashlos rabbis, this inyan prati will be nimshach and eslabish to a low level. So even you say chachma shebekesser, there is a chachma that still is shalei be'erech to the asagas of a nidus. But it's sav kol sav, the tnu of chachma. The tnu of chachma through ishtashlos rabbis is nimshach and seichel enushi, together with shalei be'erech klal. But that tnu is already a makir for sav kol sav through ishtashlos rabbis and through parsayis, whatever the system over there is, that is nimshach lamata. So the Rebbe is saying here, you can't call chachma that tzilis, that it's menusa, that it's moved to the gam. Epis hashayich masat, it's a makir. That's saying. Then there was a more. So amaret and chachma shebekesser. You're talking about the inyan of a certain tziyur. Talking about chachma. Chachma the way it is in the highest state. So saf kol saf, there's a shva between the chachma, the tziyur lamata, to the tziyur the way it is in chachma shebekesser. But Then you have chitzeni sekeser. Chitzeni sekeser, there's no, where's the lashon here? The gam chitzeni sekeser. B'chalus l'makar b'shayich l'shlashos. Chitzeni sekeser is already a whole different tnuah. Say in the mashal b'nefesh ha'adam, you have the mashal keches pninim, that's seichel and midis. That's in Yanim Pratim. The person has an ability to understand, the ability to feel. Ava, Yira. Then there is Ratzin. Ratzin is not a certain Kayach Pratim that the Nefesh has. Ratzin is that the general person, the general eye of the person is drawn towards something. So Ratzin is not a Tzir Pratim. It's not a Kayach Pratim. It's not, you say, Kayach Hariyah or Kayach Havana. Ratzin is not a Kayach Pratim. It's the whole eye of the person is drawn towards something. So it's an entirely different Tnuah than Kayach Pratim. Chachmen, when you speak about Chabad and Chagash, you're talking about already in Yonim Pratim, certain milas that the Nefesh contains. And that is in Yonim Pratim, which through Shtashlos Rabbis will be Nimshach Azulas. Someone else can appreciate this person's milas. Ratzin is the eye the way it is in itself. This eye is Nimshach. The Pshittas and Nefesh, the Kameshahu, I want something. So it's the Nefesh, the Etzam Nefesh Kameshahu being drawn to something. That's an Indian which has no erech, it's not even a Makir. This Tnuah can't be Nimshach Azulas. Means you can't impart with someone else your Ratzin. Your Mashiach is your Mashiach. Someone else could also want something else. You could tell him what you want. Your Ratzin could, even through Seder Dibur, he could know that you want, but your Ratzin can't be nimshach to someone else. Svara that you're Mechadish, or a feeling that you have, someone else could be married to that feeling. You're able to share it, the legacy that the person has. A person's Ratzin cannot be given over to someone else, because it's his being drawn to something. It's his will. You can't give over your nefesh. You can't give over your nefesh's meshikah. You could give over a certain mile pratis that your nefesh contains, but thy nefesh alin kemenish tibrigel. So a person's ratzin he can't give over. So the chur ratzin is keser is already a dark which is menusa legambi. So it has no shaychas klal to say the shashlis. That's when Dr. Rebbe does stuff called stuff. Even chitzei nesekes, even though it's a whole, it's makif, it's pshittis, not even of tzior. But still, it's a makir b'shayich l'shlashos. So it means the poil, the mashal that you see in the mashal, the tnu of Ratzin. Ratzin could be, even though Ratzin, the seichel can never, Keiches can never grasp the Ratzin. They can never tackle it. It's the nefesh kameishu being ninja, but they're able to sense that there's a nefesh that wants. It means there's certain hashpais of the Ratzin that can be nirgash. So it's not shalei beraklal. It means it's a tnu acheres and shalei l'shlashos. Keser is already the pshittis of Elukus. But the pshittis, the way it could be Meir, it could be nirgash, that there is pshittis of Elukus, could be Meir and Shashla. So it has some makir that's shayach to Shashla. Shalchein chizein lekesem nimnu lefamim b'nin asfiris. Amaret arimimcha, the emes aremus of the Eibishter, the fact that the Eibishter is beyond, so it's beyond any shaychus of it. Remus atzvis b'chinas primius hakeser, which is b'chinas atik min lashon ha'ataka, shenetak v'nivdal mikol inin Shashla. There's no concept in Vel that has any relation to the Remus atzvis. You have no asaga klal. In Bas Bashtei, the Avdallah says. Not the word Pshittis either. It's Mireim and Venivdo from the whole, any concept and any category of Seder Shlashlos. Netak Venivdo b'kol Inin Shlashlos. Chem P'chinas Atik, Lo Elam Eini Nimne V'min Asfiris. So this P'china does a Reimus Atzmis. That's a Reimimcha, the true Reimus of the Eibishter. Meretach a Reimimcha, he's being Mireim, he's speaking about the Eibishter's Reimus. So the Shai, the Eibishter's Reimus Atzmis, which has no Hashva Klal to Elam. So Pizeni move on. Pirish Adem Mimcha. Ich shaykh lereim Pchina Zula Maliyes. Amaret Primis. We're talking about Primis Akes. The way the etzim is batzmusay. What's a shaykh is mereim zay? Yeah, it's an interesting type of question. Lamerzan. You do a bez Pirish Adem Mimcha. Who Amshach Ma'alamat. What's the pshat Adem Mimcha? Not Adem Mimcha is going to elevate the Eivish Reimus. Adem Mimcha is he'll be mamshach at Ma'alamat. As Pchinas Reimus atzmis yor begili lamat. That's the pshat of the mimcha b'chop pshuta, which chop pshuta, they say it's an aricha, the kav of the chop is by arichas lamata, goes lamata man ashura, so that's meira lamshacha ad lamata mat. I don't know this word in Beis, there word shtetish, I think. Now in Beis it says that the mimcha, that the kavana is mamshach et mamay lamata, it should be begili. The remus in Sadat is behelen, and the mimcha is she mamshach et begili. So that's why the mimcha is lashon neichach. Chop is lashon neichach, that we're able to, that the gil is, that the remus is meir. But this word that is chop pshuta, and chop pshuta, the fact that it's lamata man ashura, so it's meir and amshacha lamata mata, I don't think that tight stayed there. See, the Kemat Bar doesn't say that, maybe somewhere else, but over there steht. So the word is, chop pshuta meir amshacha ad lamata mata. What's the pshat? Sharemus ha'atzim, mitzad atzmai behel v'est, mitzad the nature of the remus ha'atzim, Leichter, and he's not shaykhs the Metzias. He's Batzmusa. That's the whole inner Reim. So Mashim Reim v'nivdal, Shem Meilu Be'el. What's the ufta v'rei mimcha, Shebchinas Reim was Yar Begili. But the Knetch is, sounds like that Gosh here, not standard Shemeir Begili. Hana Shachidish v'rei mimchu legabe Eilumas. That Shebehem Yeh inner Reim was Begili. That the Reim was all sein in Welt. And then besteht the ufta. Not time you say something the way it's 9 bases. I'm not sure if this is, but that's just that's what it seems like. We have one Eifen is that Gosh is Tmuras that the Reim was his Behelen. It should be open. Should be visible. So sein Begili. Or that Gasha is that he should not just give your Helen. Where is the place of the Remus? Wo gefindt er sich? Where is he invested? The Remus in Sadatzma is in the Tnu of Avshat. He's beyond Remus. The Kodev Arevim is that this Remus should be involved. Not stand that the world should be aware of it. The Remus should be Nimshach Lamata, it should be involved. That's the Mashmos. Shebehem yeh inner remes begili. It's not just they should be aware of the remes. The inner remes al meir al nimshach ver involved. We'll see behem shecha. That's the answer. So one pirush about the mimcha is that the remes al stein involved. Not that the remes is bab shata from mitzias, but in the mitzias of Seder Shach, where there should be its remes. Noch a pirush in the mimcha it's halam u'matalamay. Zawar the mimcha lekayim. I mean, this you could have an eifin that the Remus Etzim is made involved, not because the Metzias Ha'elam is a keli, or expresses from its point of view, expresses the Remus Etzim. Since the Remus Etzim is not movable, let's say, so he's able to be present everywhere. He's able to be made everywhere. The Nekudav Elohim Matalamayla is not only that the Remus Etzim should be invested in Veld, but that Mizal Uftan, that to be made the Metzias Ha'elam. The Metzias Ha'elam should be a keli, from its point of view, it should express the Remus Etzim. Not only that the Remus Etzim should be mayor here, but that the world that it reflects the Remus Etzim. That's a low matter. The second page. That's according to this pshat that Gosh is I'm going to elevate Elakaya Melech to the Darga of Remus. One pshat is that the Yur Remus I'm going to bring down the Matamat. A zweite pshat is I'm going to elevate Elakaya Melech that they should be a cave, they should reflect your limits. Shebchinas Elekai Shali, which that's the Taish Kamet Perush, what's the Pshat and Tevas Elekai, which is what the Kaman Barichas, their Indians are Yisreimam be Yis'adir B'chinas Remus Atzis. So another Zach, Meletach Remus Etzem is a Darg which has no Shaykhas to Shashas. I mean to say so. I mean to say the Eivish. The Atzmis is Remus. And not only this Remus, the Kavan is that those Almeirs and Invel, and the mocking Kaviyot, so to speak, should be involved, but that the Metzias Ha'elam should be a Keli, and from their point of view, the Metzias Ha'elam should reflect this Remus Atzmis. And based on Yonim, Elu and Nasa, the other Marish. That's the Nekudah V'Shashon. The Beidei Yonim. Side that the Etzim should be Nimshach Begili, and side that the Metzias Ha'elam should be Nes'ale and be a Keli to the Etzim. So, Chilas HaBriya means Mitzad the Elam is the way they're Nivra Mitzad Atzvam, the Remus is Behel. Even though this happens, is B'dvar means the inner of his havos was an eifin of hell. Even though the Sheirish Hamiti for the Metzias Ha'elam is the Remus Atzmis, but the eifin his havos was that there was a hell between the Beir and the Nivra. So not only the Remus was behel, the his havos was in a way that the Mehave, the Makir, was removed from this havos. It's how the nature of his havos the way it is originally. So the Metzias Ha'elam, the way it is in Sadatzmi, is naif, and that the Elyon is the Helen from God. So it's not only that the Atzmis is Remus is not Meir Begil. There's a Helen of Hester Abeir and and Adam Arishin, Zain Inin is, we'll see later, the whole Nekudah of the Maamarim is that Vu Hatman the Remus Ha'etz, and Dafka the fact that the Sabbath is in the way of Helen. The Sabbath in Sadatzmi, the Helen doesn't express the pnimis of what the Helen is, that is the Remus Ha'etz. Because the other reason that was beginning. See, the fact that the Dvar Havaya is Behelen, that the Pashat the Mokher Abri is Behelen, that has to do with the fact that the premise of the Ishabos has to do with the Remus Ha'etz. Yeah, we'll see that. So Adam Arishin Himshach in his Remus Atzmis Begili Milmayla Lamata, number 1, and Helas Kol Abriya Milmata Lamata. So according to this pshat, pilgrim by say not stam nishtachav v'nechra, stam as a bittul tamavos. Nishtachav v'nechra a bit to that. So here, there's like that's exactly the first. You see, the beginning of the Rebbe just a different quality. The kavanah of his havas is galus remus etzem, and other mission was pale that begilui through Rosh Hashanah. And then the prati association there's two in yon. There is first of all more beer prati association being about the retzach the remus etzem. So we're dealing with the pchin of pnimius hakeser, the Indian of atik, which is shleiber not stam chachma or higher dargis which are bein erechtivot. We're dealing with the remus etzem, the pnimius hakeser, and there's two efanim bimi this mamshach belt. One efin that mamshach the elin begilui. Another eifin is a reminder that tachtin to that he should reflect who should be a keli to the Rebbe says. Can you invite her to the Elul wants to take a nap? Okay, we begin with later. Go weiter, yeah. Beer the Indian here beteves salakai yeshne pirush. The Elul must have you learned a little further, yeah. Let me get it right. There's two pirush must have shot alakai. Alakai meloshin kayach, alakai meloshin alakus. Shlochore in beis in yanam afachi. That's it. In shchonar of pashat, alakai is meloshin kayach. Another like, I think I don't know. Alakim is elia aretz lakach that where you mechavim, supposed to be mechavim the shem alakim. That the Eibush is the bala kayach vayechelis. Pashat of shchonar alakai is meloshin kayach. So shlochore is two opposite in yan. Kayach hu inyan helen. Velakai meloshin alakus hu inyan ervigili. So the Rebbe first starts off and they get to the inyan of ervigili drachin and tzuget zukeh. So we have like this. There is one way of a mucker being payed in a form of kayach, which that the mucker is the mucker is working in a way of hell, in a hidden way. That's one way of functioning. We're dealing with a mucker affecting or having an effect on a mitzvah. So one way of affecting is that the makir is pale in a ifin of hell, which is called kayach. We'll see the pratim later. And another way the makir is pale in a way of air, which that is that the makir reveals himself through this hashpah, through this pool. Kayach is that he is fakir. The purpose of the hashpah is hiding himself, being mild in himself, and that's the way he functions through kayach, which we'll see later the pratim. Air is that the way he functions, the way he's mashpeh is by being megal himself, a tnu of gilui. And there are two opposite inyanim. Is the matar over here ashpa and ifin of gilui, and the inyan of this ashpa is for the sake of the etzem of the makir revealing himself, or it's ashpa and ifin fakir of the makir being mailim himself and blocking himself away from the titzah. It's two opposite inyanim. What's your focus? It's not just kayach is not just a degraded. It's a mitzumtzum version of it. You say in the Mashal the Nevi, you have Chabad, Chagas, you have so in Moichin is more Meir than Mosada, in Midas more Mitzumtzum. It's not two opposite functions. The matar of Moichin and Midas is all this galus of the Milas Nefesh Adam, let's say. But you have degrees. Vifel is Meir, the Milas of Nefesh Adam. In Moichin is Meir, in Midas Veniker. Er and Kayach are two opposite functions. The Nekud of Er is this galus Hamakir, and the Nekud of Kayach is not a degraded version of this galus Hamakir. Fakir, the eifin of ashpa or eifin of being pale in a way of his almas. The focus is that the makir is blocking himself from the titzah, and it's not so it's two opposite inyan. So di beide inyan are both nichla in one word. It says so because sholchem elam atzilis. Why is it called elam alakus? Is because it's an elam but darten herzach alakus begilu. It's not a season of neatzman. And das dok when alakayam melech tevis alakai sevel beza pirush. Why? Because what's negel in Yinenu is that a lakus is kail both of these inyanim. Why? Because yesh ma'ile b'kol echad. Yeah, the einer from this fani hashpa has a ma'ile. Yesh the ma'ile legabikeh. Yesh the ma'ile bekeh legabikeh. No, we're dealing with a ma'ile in the sense of expressing the makir. So there's a ma'ile in the makir the way it's expressed through and there's a ma'ile in the makir the way it's expressed through the function of keh. So it wasn't the miles, and the badas by Meibesh is kail ala miles. So the chin nemer lashon alakai shesevel beza pirush. Yeah, we'll see the plot. But before the Rebbe starts being mevayer the musik of kayach, first the Rebbe is maked in another union. That here we're dealing with and kayach, which we'll see later in the Hemshech HaMaimim. The Rebbe is maked in before the Rebbe starts being mevayer and kayach means the matar what we're coming to explain is the mile of kayach over the mile of kayach, the mile of kayach over Before we're being mevayer the mile of kayach over the Rebbe is first maked that there's a musik of v'shem. And once we understand the mile of shame, that's going to be the hakdamah to understand the mile of kayach. That's basically the mahalach hadbar. So inin hodin yesh hefesh ben l'shem. Shenach inin. I mean l'shem is not, and it's v'chein ben l'kayach. Means there's two in yon. We have and kayach. which Kayach, with the Rebbe explains later, especially they say a person functions, let's say Kayach Hazrik, a person is being pale something outside of him. We'll see the Pratim later, that's Kayach. A name is not a musik of Ashpa, or it's not the same musik of Kayach, it's different. Like I'm into the mashal. There's a Kayach that a person has, and then there is the name that a person has. Say what's in the Razak. Look, we're going to see later that the musik of Kayach, has a Shaykhas to Shem. And in order to understand the Ma'il of Kayach, I'm fear Maktim Zayn, the Ma'il of Shem. Omer Oni ben Abyssal, the Malchus of Inyan Shem. Maamarim Melech Shmei Nikra. The Zema Shem Espashet, the Melech al Asarim, Va'avadim, Va'al Dino, Urak Masha Shmei Nikra Ali. Yeah. We're dealing all stuff goes soft, and we're looking at the Maamarim, the Ma'il of Sfiras HaMalchus. The Dafka through Sfiras HaMalchus could be Tzut Tzarei Mosets. That's going to be the function here. The ultimate matter is this Galas of Reimus Etz, and that's this Galas through Malchus. We'll see later. So Malchus is shame. What's that to come Malchus to shame? So the Lepoil, what does the Medina have from the Melech? What's their shaykhs to the Melech? The shaykhs, it's not that you have the Rav Talmud, so the shaykhs is that the Talmud relates to the Svaras of the Rav. Or the Chaysan Oyev and Ohov, so the Ohov is, you say, Be'efen Rikshi attached to the Oyev. What does the Anshe Medina have with the Melech? They have no erech to his seichel, they have no erech to his midas. What does the Am have from the Melech? What's the shaykhs to the Melech? That that Shmei Nikrali, they belong to him. That his name is called in them. The Medina is called his Medina. And then the shaykhs. That Shmei Nikrali, that they're his nation. Not that they have a kiruf to his Havana Basaga, not that they have a heritage in his midas. They belong to him. And that's Shmei is Nikra Aliyah. This Medina's, this Melech's Medina, this Melech's Malchus. Shmei Nikra Aliyah. We'll see the Prat. Yesh Hefesh min Eir L'Shem. First of all, this Eir is Gili. Who bedvekas Nikeres, v'Shem u'Helem who bedvekas built in Nikeres. Let's get to Yipton the Rebbe read. Shem in Yoni is, so it's a relation to the Makar. Name is a way of relating to the Makar. And Vas Bashteit, the Shaykhas of Anshe Medina to this Melech, that they're Shmei Nikra Aleh. They're his kingdom, whatever the Pshat is. His name is called on them. So what do they have from him? Shmei doesn't mean that they have that there's some of the Tchunas HaMelech that's Meir over there. When we say that shame is that there's a Shaykhas, but not a Shaykhas Gluya. Not that you're able to be mafchin, the Tchunas of the Mekabel is similar or contains within it the Tchunas of the Elyon. Only his name, which his name doesn't contain anything. There's no gili of the mile of the Elyon in his name. That's going to be later. It's still a Shaykhas. We're talking about it's his name. But it's not a Shaykhas Gluya. And the name doesn't through the name, doesn't express anything of the mile of the Makkah. It's still the Makkah's name, but it's the Makkah's name, but there's no Shaykhas Gluya between the name of the Makkah. So I'll when you get to the Anshe Medina that Shmei Nikra Aleim, the Poyal, their Misyachas Achro, they have his name, but there's nothing of his milas are Meir by them. It's only his name, which in the name doesn't contain any of the milas of the Makar Hanikra Bashem. It doesn't send Shpeter negate the Shem. But now is negate the Musik Aver. What's Eir is Gili Amar. That's the Kod Aver. It's not Eir is Gili. It means that the whole function of Eir is that that through the Eir you're able to see the Makar. With Dvekas Nikeres, his whole Inyan is Dvekas. Dvekas says that he has no independent function. His whole Inyan is to be Meshakif the Makar. Dvekas Nikeres. Not that he doesn't have his own he doesn't have his own seal, he doesn't have his own Inyan. The whole Inyan of the Eir is that the Makar should be in his Gala. You'll see the Rebbe is going to read the Eir HaShemesh. So the whole Nakud of Eir HaShemesh is that the Shemesh, the sun should be open, the sun should be known. The sun should be in his Gala. Not there's no Metzias, not a musik of Ashpa which comes from the Shemesh. The whole Techen of the Ashpa is this Galas of the Makar. That the Makar should be open, the Makar should be known. That's Vekas Nikeres. Vekas Nikeres says that the whole Metzias of Eir is Gili HaMakar. So Shakin Ander Zach. The ganze Zach is the Makar's Galas. Mashikin Shem is also Dovuk. But it's an Eifen of Vekas that it's not Nikir in the Shem that calling Yoni is the Makar. That's what it is. So Rebbe says, where's Shat Eir is Gili? Eir Megale Samoy. Through the Eir you have a Yediyah in the Makar. So the Rebbe is saying it as if it's a Cheshbon Poel. If there's a person can recognize from the Eir which is mispashed from the Makar, from which Makar is he mispashed? Whether this is the light of the candle, the light of Levana, the light of the sun. I'm not sure what Eir Hayim is. Is Er HaShemesh, Er HaYem, Weissisch Punkt, maybe, Weissisch Punkt. What's the Pshat, Er HaYem, Er HaShemesh? Maybe it means that different times of the day. Sometimes, but there's from the Eid is Nikr the Makr. So
the days lie without the Shemesh.
It says that. It says, but I don't know. It says that it's the Nevei Mitzad Shemesh, no? It says that you're not supposed to do Dika by day, Eid HaNer, because Eid HaNer, even in a dark room, in a room that has no windows, it's going to be less glowing than by night. By night, it's going to glow better. Ein Eid HaNer Mavik Yafe Bayem. They state in Yerushalmi. Not that it means in Shulman. But Ein Eid HaNer, that's what it means Eid HaYem. But the Nekudas Advarim is, it's not Stama say that it happens to be, say someone's Mechadish Svara, let's say. So sometimes you're able to tell from the Svara who is the one that's Mechadish Svara. It's typical to this Mechadish Dar. But it's not that the Svara has its own identity. It's a certain Gedank, a certain Svara. Sometimes you're able to trace back the Makir in the Svara. You're able to trace it back. We're saying when you get to air, it's not the pshat that there's air that comes from the candle, air that comes from the sun, air that comes from the levana. And if you want, you're able to, since it comes from that makar, you're able to trace back tchunas of the makar in the air. It's not that you're able to trace back. Since the makar of this is the shemesh, therefore you're going to be able to be matchen from the air some qualities of the shemesh. The whole metzias air is to make that the shemesh should be gilu. There is no identity to the air outside of the fact that it's the shemesh is gilu. That's the whole inyan air. That the shemesh should be misfashioned. That his mahus should be begoli, should be open. There is no independent mitzias which comes from the shemesh, which since it came from him, and therefore you're able to tell some qualities of the makkah. That's the whole mitzias. The whole inyan air. The whole inyan air is that the makkah should be nisgal. So the air is megale somewhere. In other words, what's the function of the air? That you say when you get to Eir HaShemesh is not so mudgish, because Eir HaShemesh, no one's going to say that the purpose of the light is that we should know that there's a sun. Well, there's a light. But Amidas Advarim is the true mahus of air. Why is it that within the nature of the light you're able to tell the Mair? Because the truth is that the air is not a davar noisef to the Mair. It's the Mair's given. It's him being open, him being mispash. It's not from him, not something's being resulted of him. It's his mahus projecting. The Mele and the Indian is that the whole Indian of air is the Gilei HaMakir. So Mele Kemeder Kennen, in the air, the Makir. But air Nikr Begilei, the Makir of the air. Because that's the whole Metzias air, the Gilei HaMakir. Eir HaYerech, Eir HaShemesh, Eir HaYem. Why? Vishabha air, HaMoyer Begilei. Means there is no Metzias outside of the Moyer's Isgalus in the air. It's not a Metzias which stems from the Makir. The whole Indian of air is the Gilei HaMoyer. Kumeisha Eir Atzvah doesn't have his own identity. The whole Indian of air is the Moyer being begilui, the Etzem being projected. So there is Gam Pulos Yabadavar Hamur Mea Air is also Shabadavar Hamur Mimenu Nikram Umur Meir Aner Eir Erech Eir Hashem. There's never a tnua. However far you're going to take air, there's never going to be a tnua of a metzias outside of the makar, because it's the makar's isgalas. It's not the makar that the makar is giving space to create something outside of it or to be mamshach something. There's him and him being open and and projecting himself. So there can never come from him. Is never going to be a tnua which is not him. So even when you speak about the air, which is going to be a pile on a mitzias shibachut, it's always going to be nirgash the makar there. That's what it brings here. But davar amur mimenu nikram umur meir aner eir erech eir hashemesh. It's never going to be a tnua of ha'ara outside of the fact that it's this makar being misgal. Because the whole tnua of air is the gidei makar. There's no haschol of a metzias which is not him himself. This is in the motion. That maps was in 9:30, yeah?